Have you ever wondered what happens when a history lesson goes way too far? Well, today we're diving into the third wave. And trust me, it's one of the most chilling and honestly revealing classroom experiments that has ever happened.
Yeah, that quote right there, that's from a student who was actually in the room. And it really says everything, doesn't it? This wasn't just reading about history in a textbook. They lived it. And the consequences, well, those stuck with them for the rest of their lives.
So, the big question is, how does a group of regular American high school kids in 1967 end up looking like this? I mean, look at these two images. On the left, you've got a reenactment of their experiment. On the right, a Nazi rally. The connection between them is, well, it's terrifyingly simple. And the scariest part, it all happened in just 5 days.
Okay, so I want you to really picture this. It's Palo Alto, California, April 1967. You've got 200 students packed into an auditorium. They're chanting slogans, waiting for their national leader to appear. But this isn't just some school assembly. This is a movement. And no, this isn't 1930s Germany. This is sunny California, right in the middle of the swinging 60s. So how on earth did they get to that point? To understand that, we've got to go back to the very beginning. It all kicked off with one simple but very unsettling question. And right at the center of this whole thing is this guy, Ron Jones. He was a young teacher, charismatic, the kind of teacher everyone loved because his methods were, well, they were different. He was known for making history come alive. But nobody, and I mean nobody, could have guessed just how real his next lesson was about to become.
So here it is. This is the question that started it all. They were in history class talking about Nazi Germany, and a student just asks this. And for Ron Jones, a textbook answer just wasn't going to cut it. He realized that for them to really get it, to understand how people could just go along with something so awful, they had to feel it. So he cooked up this crazy plan, an experiment, to give them a little taste of fascism right there in their California classroom.
All right, so it's Monday morning. Jones walks into his class, and he begins. He's going to build this movement from scratch, starting with the first and what seemed like a pretty harmless pillar. The whole thing was built on 3 core slogans. Jones would introduce a new one each day. And the first one, strength through discipline. It started with really simple stuff. Rules about how to sit, how to enter the classroom, how to talk to him. They seemed like small things, right? But man, they created this immediate, powerful sense of order. And this is the moment where it stops being just a classroom exercise and starts feeling like something else. They got a name, the third wave, based on this idea that the third wave in a set is always the strongest. Then came a salute, then membership cards, banners, the whole shebang. Suddenly, it wasn't just a bunch of individual kids in a class. They were a collective, a tribe. And you can totally see why it was so appealing, right? For the kids who were usually on the outside, the quiet ones, this was amazing. It was empowering. All of a sudden, everyone was equal, the usual high school cliques, gone. For the first time, maybe ever, they felt like they belonged to something. But for the popular kids, the high achievers, well, their usual advantages just kind of vanished. But that feeling of unity, that sense of belonging, it didn't stay so positive for long. It started to morph into something way darker. And this little classroom game, it started spilling out into the hallways, into the real world, and it happened fast. I mean, just look at this timeline. It shows you how unbelievably fast this all spun out of control. We're talking Monday, it's just posture drills. By Wednesday, that's day 3, they're issuing membership cards and have a secret police. And by Friday, the thing has blown up from 30 kids to 200, and they all believed they were part of a real national movement. Yeah, this is where it really stopped being a game. Students started snitching on their own friends for breaking the rules. If you weren't a member, you got excluded, even intimidated. There was this one student, a kid who was normally an outcast, who actually assigned himself as Mr. Jones's bodyguard. He was finally feeling powerful. The trust between friends, it just evaporated. But you know what? Not everyone got swept away by it. There was some resistance. A few students saw exactly how dangerous this was getting, and they tried to push back. This poster right here, it's one of the only things left from that resistance. Just a small, brave act of defiance against this huge wave of conformity. So at this point, even Ron Jones knew this had gone way, way too far. It was completely out of his control. He had to shut it down. And he decided he was going to end it in the most dramatic,
most unforgettable way he could think of, with one last, shocking lesson.
200. That's how many students crammed into that auditorium on Friday for the big rally. Jones had promised them that their new national leader was about to be revealed on live television. You can just imagine the energy in that room. The anticipation was absolutely electric. So, the time comes. Jones flicks on the TV. And all those students, they just stare at the screen, waiting. But all they see is static. Just hissing static. No leader, no announcement. A minute goes by, then another, and the mood in the room just shifts from excitement to confusion and then to real anxiety. Something was definitely wrong.
And then he dropped the bomb. Jones turned off the TV, and instead, he projected these images onto the screen, not of a leader, but of the Nuremberg rallies, of the Hitler Youth, of the absolute horrors of Nazi Germany. He looked at all of them and told them the truth. There was no leader. The whole thing was a setup, an experiment, to show them exactly what they had become. It was all a hoax. And with this one last, absolutely haunting statement, he drove the lesson home. He told them that they had all willingly traded their freedom just to feel special, to feel superior. And he predicted, just like the people they'd been studying, they would probably have a really hard time admitting they went along with it. The lesson was over.
So, the experiment itself was done, but the story? Oh, the story was just getting started. The third wave has been turned into books, TV movies, even a huge German film called Die Welle. And here's the crazy part. It's actually required reading in many German schools now. They use it to help new generations understand their own history. It's become this powerful, timeless warning about just how fragile our freedoms really are.
And that really brings us to the most uncomfortable truth of this whole thing. The students at that high school, they weren't evil. They were just normal kids. And that forces all of us to ask a really tough question, doesn't it? If we were in their shoes, under the right or wrong circumstances, would we be strong enough to resist that pull? Would we be able to stand against the wave?